This is the DGD podcast. Go Dogs.
Welcome to the DGD podcast, the Georgia Bulldogs podcast for dogs.
From the gun again on first down. Fires wide. Juan Daniels. Touchdown, Georgia.
This is your favorite receiver, Juan Daniels, and you're listening to the DGD podcast with my man, Robert Reynolds. Go Dogs.
Welcome to the DGD podcast. Guys, we've got a banger of a show for you today. But first, I'm going to welcome on Daht. If you don't know him, he's local to me. Wildin' out. The list goes on. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
What is all this Go Dogs foolishness? You told me in my DMs we were talking about the Tar Heels. You said you was in North Carolina. We were talking about the Tar Heels. I pop up on the screen, and it's Go Dogs this, Bulldogs that. What kind of sabotagery is this?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's sabotage by any means, Daht. Now, I'll tell you this. We are talking North Carolina, and there's a reason why Georgia fans need to know about North Carolina and why we need to take serious consideration about the Tar Heels looking forward to this season. Now, obviously, as the show goes on, we'll explain. Look, the unofficial mascot of the Tar Heels is on the show right now. Obviously, like I said, look, you came on, really wilding out. 102 Jams is a radio show close to me, 3 Live Crew. Listen to it all the time, by the way. Look, you're a hype man for the Carolina Cobras. UNCG, look, that's my alma mater. I've got a little side story right here. I went to several basketball games, heard you hyping up for Wes Miller and company. So, hey, man, it's a pleasure to have you on. And, obviously it's going to be interesting to hear what you got to say about them Tar Heels, man.
Now, let me ask you a question real quick, because you being a UNCG Spartan, a huge Dogs fan, are you going to root any for Cincinnati now that Coach West is over there?
I don't have a problem with Cincinnati, man.
Okay.
They earn my from a football standpoint, right? They earn my respect in the bowl game. Honestly, we pulled one off, so it is what it is there. But Fickle and company and the football squad, definitely respected. At least earn my respect there.
Sure.
When it comes to basketball, though, they got a good program, and I think Wes Miller, looking at what he did at UNCG, and me going to several games and seeing Isaiah Miller and all them guys, man, for what it's worth, I think he's going to have that program on the up and up. Obviously, this isn't UGA related, guys, but this is personal to me. So definitely, I'm going to pull for it, man, when it comes to basketball. I have to. It's just Wes Miller.
For sure. That's how I felt, man. Like, as a Tar Heel fan, and yes, I am Daht, the unofficial mascot of Tar Heel basketball, Tar Heel athletics. You dig? I know this is for the Dogs, so big shouts to the Dogs, man. I got a little bit of love for the Dogs because, we had a homie from the 252 area from Tarboro actually play for the Dogs and then come to the NFL. That girly boy, you dig? So I'm a huge Tar girl. That's the homie. And so when he was out in L.A., I got to kick it with him a little bit because my homie Big Plays Hayes, who's from High Point right here in the Triad area, he played on that Rams team too. So I got to kick it with Gurley a lot, man. That's the homie. So I got a lot of respect for the Dogs, man. Nothing but love for the Dogs. But as far as the Tar Heels, let me tell you something. It is time for the temperature to be turned up on awareness for our football program, brother. It's time.
Obviously, look, it's a dog podcast.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if you think that Clemson is going to be you're just going to walk away from everybody this year, I understand your reasoning, but I'm telling you, after this show, I think you're going to open some eyes and understand that, hey, look, North Carolina might be a factor in this. I don't know if you heard about this. I got a friend of mine at Pick Six Previews. He actually put the Tar Heels as one of his playoff teams. Did you know about that?
I did not know about that, but I'm greatly appreciative. Listen, it could happen. Like, that third spot is going to be somewhere between Clemson, Carolina, Alabama, somewhere in there. What you going to have? Oklahoma State, or Oklahoma, you're going to have Ohio State. I know, of course, you're thinking Georgia should be there, right?
I think so. There's so many different options right now, and obviously, the playoff expanded into 12. That's a whole different ballgame. You can sit there and talk for hours on that. But looking at the 4 right here, I think looking at the scope of the NCAA and what other teams around, the country are having to sit here and replace, and what Georgia brings back, I think is the reason why, as Dog fans, we think that this is the year to get back into the playoffs and really, win what's ours and what we think, and that's a national title. So, looking at it right here, obviously, look, Bama lost a lot of talent. They
like
lost
Clemson.
Clemson lost a lot of talent. But the thing about it is they're going to reload and there are always going to be problems. So you look at Oklahoma with bringing Rattler back. I think Oklahoma's a lock for the playoffs based off of the Big 12, SEC now schedule.
Right.
But, you look at Oklahoma. I think Ohio State, if you're not familiar with the name C.J. Stroud, I think you need to know relatively quickly because that kid's a baller coming out of high school. Obviously replacing Justin Fields is not going to be easy, but look, he's got arguably the best receiving core in the nation to help him transition into as a full-time starter. So you look at Oklahoma, but the ACC, though, this is the key, and this is why I brought you on here. Everybody looks at Clemson, and sure, you have to beat Clemson to make it in. I get that. But North Carolina, in my opinion, has the best shot even over Miami.
Listen, let me tell you, it's almost like when people think of your conference, what team do they think about in football?
Absolutely, Alabama.
Absolutely. But I see them in the comments right now. It's dog time. Go Dogs. Because y'all feel like it's y'all's time. Alabama, the last couple of years, they haven't been as strong. Yes, they've still been dominant because it's Alabama, but they haven't been as strong. You see little areas of weakness where you can come through for lack of a better word, chinks in the armor, where you feel like you can come and dominate and get a dub and represent your conference in the bowl or in the playoffs. We feel the same way, bro. Like over the last couple of years, yes, Clemson, when you think of ACC football, you're going to think of Clemson. For those that don't know, Dogs fans, we broke up into two separate divisions in our conference. You got Coastal and you got Atlantic. In our conference, Carolina, we got Coastal, right? So we're sitting here with Pitt, and Clemson is over there with NC State, et cetera, et cetera. So we would only have to play them one time, period. We would only have to play them once. We don't have a situation where we have to play Clemson twice. Now, yes, Clemson is the juggernaut, no doubt about it. But over the past 3 years, we've been on the incline. Carolina football, since we got Mac Brown, we've been on the trajectory forward. Like 3 years ago, Carolina football was 2-9.
Yep.
2 years ago, 7-6. Last year, 8-4. Now, mind you, to Dogs fans, that might not be. I mean, you might not be impressed by those numbers. But from Tar Heel fans, we're very impressed with those numbers because we know that we very could have been 9-4. We very well could have been 10-2 because there were a couple of games where we lost with about 2 points, 3 points, 6 points total in 2 games, 3 games. 2 years ago in 2019, we played Clemson, lost by 1 point.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Yep.
Bro, that's when they had the Trevor Lawrence team.
Yep.
This Clemson team is the most fragile team that he's had in years. He's not 100% confident at quarterback. He's not 100% confident at running back. Meanwhile, we are very confident. Yes, we lost some heavy weaponry in our backfield and at wide receiver, but we restocked that, and we got preseason ACC All-American, as far as I like to concern, Sam Howell. Sam Howell at quarterback is the X factor. Mac Brown, he is the best coach in the ACC, not named Dabo, right? So From that perspective, the Tar Heels are locked and loaded. Our defense is loaded. We keep refilling the shelves. 2022 class, we already got 12 recruits coming. We got Tony Grimes right there. You're Dogs fans. Y'all familiar with Tony Grimes, aren't you? Nevertheless, we got Tony Grimes. Preseason all ACC. He's going to be a dog. We got 2 other corners that could have very well got those accolades. We got Storm Duck out there. Like, I'm telling you.
The best name in college football.
The best name in college football, fam. I'm telling you, man. Like, Tar Heel fans are very excited coming in, man, because, again, the trajectory that Mac Brown has put us on has been, like, again, from 2-9 to 8-4, and very well could have been 10-2. I don't just say that in jest. And it is because Mac Brown did what was smart. He did what Fedora refused to do, and that is recruit in state. Speaking of studs here.
Speaking about recruiting in state, look, we're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but I want to come back to your point about North Carolina as a program. Guys, if you're not familiar with Mac Brown, there's a program that he coached at called Texas, and he won a national title there. He knows how to get it done.
Yeah.
You look at the ACC right now, and to Dot's point here, Clemson doesn't have Trevor Lawrence anymore. They don't have Travis Etienne anymore. However, I'm not going to discredit that DJ is not going to be – he's going to do just fine. Lynn J. Dixon, I think, will be just fine. Will Shipley is going to be the X factor for them.
Right.
But right now, look, it's young, and they got a hard test. And we know this, all Dogs fans. We know this. Clemson and Georgia, September 4th in Charlotte. That's a true litmus test right there. Playoff caliber game right there.
Absolutely.
Start the season. So the thing about this is this. we'll even bring this over. I'm gonna bring this up here, Dot, so we can talk about this. When Dot talks about Carolina and not having to play them, so if you're able to watch here, this is the Carolina schedule this year. So you start off against VTech in Lane Stadium up in Blacksburg, which is going to be awesome. I love that environment. I love that
Man,
environment.
it's so lit, dog. And it's a night game?
It should be.
I hope it's a night game. Man,
I would think it'd be. I would think it'd be prime time. Yeah, I would think it'd be prime time.
Sure.
Looking at that right there, then you go to Georgia State, Virginia, Georgia Tech, which hey, Dogs fans we know all too well. Duke.
And we owe Virginia. We owe Virginia. We owe Florida State. We owe Miami. Like that run right there is going to be OD. Duke,
Yes.
Of course, that's rivalry, whether it's football, basketball, lacrosse, ping pong, beer pong. It doesn't matter. Whenever we see Duke, that's a rivalry. So it's always going to be a tough.
Looking at the schedule here, though, this is the first time I've laid eyes on this schedule, actually, Dot.
Me too.
The Florida State Miami back to back is really the hardest part of your schedule. You look at Miami, right? 7 weeks in, no bye week yet, and then you go in straight to play Miami. I think it's a home game, but nonetheless, it's Miami, which in my opinion is the third, is right behind y'all in regards to the best program in the ACC, and I don't even think it's close.
Right.
You have Clemson, you have North Carolina, you have Miami, and then it's a huge drop off. But looking at that game right there, I think that's the X factor because if you win that game, it basically assures you. I mean, obviously you got to handle business, but it assures you a trip to Charlotte to play Clemson. And look, this whole show is based off of the assumption that y'all get it done and you go to Charlotte. This is why Georgia fans, we need to understand what North Carolina is made of because they have a damn good team. And me being in North Carolina, really in close proximity to Daht here, we know. Obviously I'm a Dogs fan. I keep up with that right there. But if I'm doing you a disservice if I don't tell you about the teams that you need to keep an eye out for, and that's why we're doing this right now.
Facts. Nah, man, this Carolina football team, man, we have been built like we have depth at each position. We have a coach that is very, very he's just a dog. You know that, man.
He got so much experience.
Dude, so much. Like he had Carolina top tier before we had those transgressions with those guys like Rob Quinn, and you remember that era.
Yep.
And then he had to leave, and we were scraping the bottom of the cellar. We had a bunch of different taxes imposed on us, if you will, and it really messed with our recruiting, football and basketball, as a matter of fact. But now with Coach Mack back, again, with him understanding the importance of recruiting in state, like it just does something. Like North Carolina, the school is so big in the state of North Carolina that when you're growing up and you're like, you chose to pick it's a line drawn in the sand in North Carolina. For you Dogs fans that have never been to North Carolina, there is a line drawn in the sand. In basketball, you're either going to pick Carolina or you're going to pick Duke. If you don't want to pick either one of those, you're going to pick NC State. That's it.
Depending on if you're in Winston-Salem, you're going to pick the Demon Deacons. But yeah. Tim Duncan.
That was a time. But there, like right now, there are no young kids that want to be Wake Forest fans. Regardless if you're from Winston, you could be born in the Joel, but you're not going to be a Wake Forest fan. But neither here nor there. In football, it's you're Carolina or you're NC State. That's it. Nobody is a Duke fan in football. Wake Forest,
not
sometimes.
Football.
Huh?
Not football. You're right. Well, it's hard to find a Duke fan that keeps up.
It's hard to find a Duke football fan, bro. Like for real. So that's how it's broken up. So you're gonna pick one regardless. With that being said, as Tar Heel fans, again, we understand that Clemson is the juggernaut. The same way Dogs fans understand that Alabama is the juggernaut. But the same optimism that you all see with the status of your team, the players, the depth of the players, like we feel that same way. Are you all confident in your coaching? I'm not huge on the Dogs roster and things of that such, but are y'all happy with y'all's coaching? Because we couldn't be more pleased with Coach Mack.
There's a lot of, as Georgia fans, I'll answer this question. I might not speak for everybody, but at least I'll give you my opinion here. I like what we have in the staff. Looking at Kirby Smart, he's done something kind of similar to what Mack's done, and it really recruiting at a high level. You look at what Mark Richt, no discredit, and all prayers out to him, by the way, as well. You look at the rankings, right? If you go back and look over time, you see on average in top 10. With Kirby Smart, you're seeing top fives every year, no question.
Right.
And let's be honest here, when it comes to recruiting, top 10 finishes are nice, but in the SEC, a top 10. You could be 10th and still come in 4th
Right.
in your conference.
Right.
So, to finish and finish number 1, number 3, number 2, 4 last year, whatever, that's only the start. But I like what Kirby's instilling, and I think now is the time. And this year, looking back in the previous year, the last 4 games with our JT Daniels, when he came in, we have been trying to break out this offense, and Dogs fans understand this, trying to establish this pass-happy offense. And as the times are changing in the game, it's not your defense wins championships anymore like that. It helps, but it's not going to win you games.
Right.
So, obviously Georgia of old, Dot, you probably remember this, run, pass just to open the field up and then keep running it.
Right.
That's not how college football is working anymore and being successful. And by successful, I mean winning titles. Georgia wants to win a title, and Kirby's going to basically do whatever it takes to do that, which is why we brought in Todd Monken, open this offense up. I really love what we're seeing there. The last 4 games when JT Daniels, you saw the offense turn and really start to see the potential for what we should expect and what we did last year. Looking at it this year, obviously JT stays healthy. I think with the room that we've got at receiver and tight end, I don't know if you're familiar with this. We got 6'8" Darnell Washington, and then Eric Gilbert transfers from LSU that's going to play our receiver for us, 6'5", 240, 250 as a receiver.
Dog.
So we've got size, we've got world-class speed. Name you might want to keep up with, Arian Smith. When I mean world-class, I mean world-class. Like 10-0 in the 100-meter.
Right.
Like, it's going to take the top off. So this is, from a Georgia perspective, this is the year. You have all the pieces, and George Pickens was the X factor there. Comes off in spring and tears his ACL. But coming back, I think looking at the schedule for us, obviously outside of Clemson, look, we're going to be in the contention to play in the SEC championship, which also transfers over to the playoffs. Pickens will be back. So, looking at what we're expecting, in regards to our offense, sure, there's some question marks on our defense, right? You look at secondary, in my opinion, is our big question mark on, and that's from an experience standpoint. We lost 4 guys to the draft, and all of them started outside of Lewis Seen, which headhunter, by the way. But you look at, we bring in Darian Kendrick, and that's a name you're probably familiar with from Clemson. So, you bring him in, you bring in Tyke Smith from West Virginia to kind of help bring in some experience. And then the talent is never a question. So it's just a matter of getting these guys game experience and doing that. And when you add in, a Charlotte native, Jordan Davis, by the way, 6'6", 350, I think it is, like humongous man. Coming back, right, for his senior or coming back for an extra year, running it back. Georgia fans have all the hype right now, but we're also, like, for me, I got to see it, man. I got to see it. I can't get my hopes up too much. I just got to see it get done.
I'm that same way, man. Like, I'm optimistic that we can win the ACC and be in a playoff. But the reality is, man, this team has to pay attention to detail. Like, again, we lost 2 quality running backs, 2 quality wide receivers. So we have to fill those positions. Now, I do feel like we can fill those positions. We got a great sophomore wide receiver in Josh Downs. Again, like, Sam Howell's going to be the X factor, but he's going to have to play smart. Like I was saying earlier, there were games last year we didn't even get to play Clemson. Why? Because there were games that we lost that we shouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? And for example, what was it? We lost to Wake Forest and App 2 years ago. We lost to Virginia and Florida State last year. The Florida State game, Florida State is always tough, but the way the game was played, we should have won that game. And there are we have to put ourselves in a position where we even get to play Clemson. If we get to play Clemson in Charlotte in the ACC championship, then I feel like our odds are in a very high favor that we can beat Clemson and make it to a playoff. If depending on how all that sits around you, like you said, we got 12 teams now, and that's a whole nother, like, it's just ridiculous now. I don't even know.
There's so many questions, right, that need to be answered. And like I said, looking back at the schedule, really throughout the season, taking care of business week in and week out is going to be huge for not only Georgia, but it's going to be North Carolina as well.
Absolutely.
Looking at the situation here for North Carolina, though, you look at, if you can handle Florida State, which I think Florida State is going to be a tough game for y'all. I think
Absolutely.
Florida State's going to be a tough game for anybody this year. Look at what Norvell is doing down there, especially at recruiting.
Right.
But I'm curious to see what they put on the field and how that transitions there. But
Right.
Miami, with De'Aaron King, if he comes back fully healthy and like he was before he got injured in the bowl game, I think that's going to be maybe the conference game of the year.
Right.
Especially with what's at stake, because really whoever wins that game is going to Charlotte. It's got to be, in my opinion.
Right.
So obviously taking care of business before obviously getting ahead, thinking ahead, and going to Charlotte for the Tar Heel State for the sake of that, it's going to be key. So let's be honest here. We're going to transition over to our next topic, though. Why North Carolina is where they are, and a lot of that is in-state recruiting, and really a lot of them come local to us. Look at Miles Murphy, probably one of the best defensive guys on the team, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong. I think he's going to have a huge year this year, straight out of our backyard in Dudley. Ritzy, Ra Dilworth. Several of these guys are literally just like in our backyard. And they're playing huge roles on this team with high expectations and potential playoff ramifications. So I know you're being well versed with the Tar Heels. Talk about some of these local kids that are actually playing for the Tar Heels, making big roles, and why those kids can make a big deal when it comes to playing Clemson if that were to happen.
It's the pride issue. That's what I was saying a little bit earlier, man. Like when you're growing up in this area, you want to be a Tar Heel. You want to be a Wolfpack. So when those teams don't recruit you like was in years past, you feel some kind of way. So what happens is you end up going to Georgia as a Ty Gurley and becoming a superstar, phenomenal athlete. There's no way Ty Gurley should have went to Georgia. No disrespect to Georgia, but there's no way he should have gotten out of North Carolina is my point. And the reality is that we went through a time where North Carolina athletes weren't being recruited by North Carolina. And when you talk about your Jaws, your Ritzies, and your Rah-Rahs, and your these guys, they grow up wanting to be Tar Heels. So when they become Tar Heels, it's a whole nother level of pride. It's almost like representing in the Olympics, because you're representing your state and you're representing everything you've wanted to be growing up. That's why, like in basketball, Day'Ron Sharp wanted to be a Tar Heel. Like, he's from North Carolina. He wanted to be a Tar Heel. Yep. Basketball program has rarely had issues recruiting in-state. They're very smart with that. They'll go out of state and grab a Joel Berry or J.P. Tokido, but for the most part, they're going to recruit in-house. Your Theo Pensons, your Kennedy Meeks. That's what they're going to do in basketball.
Back in the day, going back, Stackhouse.
Bro, they've always done it. Football went off the rails with that in Mac's absence, and now that Mac is back, Mac has done that, and it is very, very smart. It's a player, I can't even think of his freaking name, but he's it's right on the tip of my tongue that's drawing me. Power Eccles. He's from North Carolina. This kid's going to be a monster. Power Eccles is going to be a freaking monster for Carolina, dog. He's a freshman. That's the smart thing. And cats know that his talent in North Carolina. It's funny that you were saying that, because when you were talking about your staff earlier, I remember Coach Rigsby. I did know Coach Rigsby. And how do I know Coach Rigsby? Because I was over at Grimsley one evening, and a helicopter lands on the baseball field. And I'm like, who the hell is that? And they were like, that's Coach Rigsby here to see Travis. Travis was just a sophomore. This is his sophomore year. He's headed into a senior year. And if you dogs, I'm pretty sure you dogs are familiar with the top 5 defensive end in the state, Travis Shaw. Top 5 defensive end in the country, Travis Shaw. But he went to my alma mater, Grimsley High School. He goes there. And I was over at Grimsley just fraternizing with the folks and chopping it up. And Coach Rigsby actually pulled up in the chopper, bro, on campus. That was my first time actually seeing some shit like that.
The Kirby copter comes out.
Dude, the Kirby copter comes out. I was like, this is big business. This dude is really a stud, yo. But it's just awesome, man. There's a lot of talent in North Carolina. I'm sure there's a lot of talent everywhere, but it's different when you play for the state, play for the college in your state that you grew up as a fan of. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Looking at it right here, I think you kind of, to go back here, you look at what Fedora did, right? Fedora was there when the Jordan brand came through and really took over the program. football deal signing with obviously with the partnership with Jordan Brand. If you're not familiar with that, there's a guy named Michael Jordan that that went to the Tar Heels. But nonetheless, he was, in my opinion, he was more about the publicity. Like that's what it seems like to me. And Mac, sure, recruiting's a part of PR and showing face, things like that. But Mac knows what it takes, and Georgia understands this personally too. Kirby Smart understands what it means to lock down the state and don't let these guys out. Now, to Georgia's situation here, the Atlanta metro area, it's almost impossible for you to keep all these kids in there because there's just so damn many of them just in the metro area alone. So you're gonna have Clemson's and Bama's and all these Ohio States coming in and picking guys out. That's understandable. Now, when it comes to North Carolina, I was interested. Obviously, I'm not mad, but you look at some names from Georgia, right? Guys from North Carolina that come to mind. You said Todd Gurley. You look at Zeus, Zamir White, coming from Laurinburg. You look at Jordan Davis, coming out of Charlotte. So you look at those names right there. Throughout time when Mac wasn't here. And really, I'm kind of glad that he wasn't there because I don't feel as confident with those guys coming. If that would be the case, but you look at what Mac's doing now and recruiting these guys in state. And I want to try to talk about the 2022 cycle, right? There's a lot of kids here, a lot of elite kids, just local to us, right? Just local. And we'll talk about a few of them, right? Just within Greensboro purposes alone. I look at Grimsley, what they come in. Look, Grimsley just come off of a 4A state title this past year. Yes. You look at what Rigsby on that defensive as a defensive coordinator there, Coach Rigsby. Having guys like Travis Shaw, having Tamorie Thompson, kid's a fucking animal. I'm just gonna leave it there. Kid's an animal. But one of the things about the 2022 class is, this is one year, in my opinion, that you cannot look at rankings. These recruiting services, they use their rankings, things like that. Look, this is not the year to look at that. If you're one of those folks, I highly suggest you not think about it too much this year because with COVID and dead period opening back up in July, right? Camps finally able to go on. Look, there's going to be kids that are vastly underrated. Georgia, we understand there's a name that you may need to know, Georgia fans. Carlton Madden, kid's going to be a stud. Going to be a stud. But look, obviously we're local here. Right now you look at a couple guys, like I said, Tamorie, right? Everybody knows Travis Shaw. Everybody knows it, rightfully so. But you look at these, I wouldn't say underrated, but lesser known kids.
Underseen.
Yes, you look at Makai Wall from Dudley. You look at, like I said, Tamorie from Grimsley. And you being an alum, you understand. There's Caleb Curtin. Several kids from Grimsley.
Yeah.
Yes, and the quarterback, committed to James Madison. In a typical year, state titles mean something. So you look at these kids right here. Look, love what I saw on state from Grimsley's standpoint. I love what I saw. There are certain things we talked about prior to. Look, you can't teach effort. You can't teach, the ethic. You can, if you're not going to sit there and put 100% out, that's something a coach ain't going to be able to help you with. That's something you've got to figure out for yourself. You look at, coaches are really having to adjust. And I think Mac is doing a damn good job about this.
He's smart.
And I think Kirby, obviously, you look at recruiting, and you start to see these guys with 3 stars. Casual people look at that like, oh, why are they picking up 3 stars? Stars don't mean a damn thing, especially this year, because Makai Wall, Makai is a 3-star. I don't even think Tamorie's got a star ranking. If he does, I think it'd probably be a 3-star.
Right.
But watching them on tape, right? Watching them on tape, whoever gets these kids, man, they're going to be happy with what they got. And size, I understand size plays a part in recruiting, especially elite, elite D1. It could make or break an elite from a mid, group of 5 or whatever. But let's be honest, these kids around here, man, they've got some skill, they've got talent. It's just loaded in the Greensboro area, right? You look at Kernersville right down the road with Glenn, ton of talent there.
Facts.
And one of the things that
East Forsyth putting out some studs too.
Oh yes, So what I want to take away from this, from most of my audience is from Georgia or around that area. If you're not familiar with the North Carolina scene, in years past, North Carolina hasn't really been a thought for football. It's been a basketball by all means.
Right.
The way the local high school scene's coming, though, North Carolina's starting to put out a lot of elite talent across the board, across the state.
Right.
Typically in years past, you would look at Charlotte. And Charlotte's your main hub for talent. You like Sam Howell, right? Come from around the Charlotte area. But now you're starting to see kids, especially on the Tar Heels, coming from Greensboro, right?
Yep.
And to your point, they want to play for the in-state team. It means something.
Right.
But that also tells me that North Carolina is on the up and up with talent across the state. Look at Eli Hall. I don't know if you know him, but from Shelby, he just committed to Wake Forest.
Right.
So you look at these right here. These kids are coming in, and they're 2022 is going to be one of them.
Just like Omarion Hampton. Like he's going to be a freaking
that dude's going
dog,
to be a baller. That dude's
like
going to be
Sebastian
a baller.
Cheek. Like these kids are going to be monsters. And to your point, and I would like to correct myself. Earlier, I was saying Coach Rigsby, and I clearly did not mean Coach Rigsby. I clearly meant Coach Smart, Kirby Smart. But that's not the here nor there.
No worries there.
But I wanted to say to your point, branding, like Coach Fedora, like getting the Jordan brand and stuff and wanting to promote it in order for recruiting, important, very important. But you want to know something? Don't nothing recruit kids like wins.
Yeah.
Wins is what helps in recruiting more than anything. So if you sitting a bunch of players in a bunch of Jordan gear and you going 2-9, don't nobody want to come wear Jordan gear and sit on the damn bench,
Let's talk about Michigan. Just saying.
Point proven.
But I'll tell you this. One of the things from an outsider standpoint here with Fedora, in my opinion, the PR stuff was good. He was good with that. Talking to the public, everything like that, and the media, good at that. His fatal flaw was evaluation.
Yeah.
Because not saying nothing to discredit the kids, that he recruited, they didn't produce. So I think it's a part of coaching, but evaluation could have played a part there too.
Yeah.
I don't know if he exactly got what he needed to run his system there, but like I said, with Mac there, it's a completely different system. The nature of the beast is he's going to go out and he's going to have North Carolina in competition with the best of the best when it comes to these kids around the country. Obviously, it just so happens that Georgia and North Carolina and Clemson really are battling out with A&T. Being Travis Shaw's top 4, right? Final 4.
Right.
So, North Carolina in years past, I don't know if would have been an afterthought, maybe. Especially for kids like Travis Shaw that are
for sure.
I think they've got. I think the composite has him at 4 now, or 3 or 4 in the country. Dude. So
it's been a total revamp though, Rob. Like I mean, like to your point, you're 100% correct. Like 5 years ago, even 5 years ago. Travis Shaw wouldn't have been thinking about going to Carolina. It didn't have that it factor. Right now, though, it's cool to be a Tar Heel. It looks good. Like Coach, you got Coach Mack out there with the different Jordans on for the games. Like kids see that. That's dope. You got the social media going hammer. You know what I'm saying? It's a change in the guard. Like it's a pride thing of I want to be a part of the team that takes down Clemson. I want to be a part of the team that changes the trajectory of Carolina football. Now it's a lot more pride in that. And again, you're in state doing that. Like Coach Mac Brown is the reason for that, dog. Like just understanding. Coach Hubert Davis, he said he like from the Tar Heel basketball side, he was in practice. And even at his press conference, he said it's pride in being a Tar Heel.
Yeah.
It's pride, dude. Like and again, for your Dogs fans that's looking, is like, why in the hell he got this Carolina dude on here talking so much shit today? Where's the Dogs news? I'm telling you, we're so alike, Dogs fans and Tar Heel fans, because we have the same freaking juggernauts ahead of us that we're trying to prove, hey, guess what? Once we get over that mountain, we can damn say, hey, we are the real fucking deal. Nobody thinks
the limit at that point. Yeah.
Nobody thinks the Bulldogs are shit as long as Alabama is still running the conference. And until Georgia punches Alabama in the mouth, like I saw him, I put money on Georgia beating Alabama a couple years. What team was that they had, buddy, that went to didn't y'all have Chubb and
Chubb, Michelle?
Man, I put money on y'all, man. I had money. Yeah. I loved that team, dog. I loved Sony Michel. He was my favorite fucking running back. I loved him, dog. And that Georgia team, like, I just love the attitude of the Dogs. I loved y'all as fans. And this is before I ever even knew of the DGD podcast or Rob or any of that. Like, just being outside looking in, like, I could fuck with them. Like, they get down. And I remember actually putting money on y'all. I think, wasn't that in the Clemson game?
Which are you
no,
talking
Alabama. Wasn't it Alabama?
Are you talking about the national title game?
Yes.
Yeah, that was 2017. That's a game that hurts every Georgia fan, and it's gonna. Oh fuck yeah, man! Because like nobody expected second and 26 to happen, right?
Right.
Listen. Whoever's listening to this, prepare yourself, guys. It's almost NSFW right now in your hearts. I get it, but
that's y'all's Villanova. For Carolina fans, Villanova, Chris.
That's more of like a Falcon situation. But enough about that.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. But no, I think looking at that season though, that's something that Georgia's had, but now it's going to take a different level. We had that swagger. Not only did we have, you had Chubb and Michelle, right? That was our duo right there. That's all you needed. But you still had good players. You had Fromm as a freshman, right?
Right. Jake Fromm, he was off the chains.
Lorenzo Carter, Roquan Smith, all these names. So many players.
That team was stacked, dog. That team was stacked.
It hurt me because you go from the emotional high of the Rose Bowl win against Baker in Oklahoma, comeback win, and Michelle running the walk-off, right?
Yes, dog. That's when I was like, this dude is off the chains. I even put him on my fantasy football team with the Patriots just because I love him so much. I love Sony Michelle.
One of the things about that though is and I'll bring this up just after this, but seeing that emotional high, and then seeing what happened in the first half, right, when we had Bama basically like we were beating the shit out of them, and then you start to see that comeback, and you're like, fuck. So you sit there, and then to second 26 happens, and then you go from literally 2 weeks ago where you're on like cloud 9.5,
right,
and then you go to just crushing defeat, and it's haunted Georgia ever since,
right.
But enough about that right there. I do want to talk about this right here. Looking at Georgia understands tradition, right? And I think North Carolina is all about this too. North Carolina has always been perceived as this basketball program, rightfully so, but they've always been perceived from everybody outside of North Carolina, and hell, a lot of even in-state North Carolina, just a basketball school. Mac Brown has that program looking at, hey, look, they got a good basketball program, but hey, their football team ain't that bad either. And that, like you talked about with Fedora, wins helps in recruiting, and it does. But like I said, there's a lot of pieces to recruiting. I just don't know if he had the it factor to be the head coach at the Tar Heels.
Right.
Mac Brown knows what it's like. He understands tradition. Guys, Mac Brown coached back in the mid-'90s here, early to mid-'90s at the Tar Heels. Right. He coached there. So he understands what it means to be a Tar Heel, right? And as a Dog fan, look, I know you want to hear Georgia, but look, he understands tradition. SEC, Georgia, we're all about tradition. RBU. Everybody understands Georgia as RBU, from Herschel to what really Trippy, all the way back up to Herschel, Garrison Hurst, Todd Gurley, right?
Garrison Hurst was a dog.
Terrell Davis.
What's our RBU, Running Back University?
Yes,
for sure.
Hey, fun fact here, since you're not a Dog fan, did you know that? Can you believe having Todd Gurley, Keith Marshall, and Nick Chubb, Sony Michelle on the same squad at the same time?
Yes, that is ridiculous.
And look, that's why I understand we're kind of going on right here, but this is tying back into this tradition.
Yeah.
You look at Georgia, we have a huge tradition when it comes to RBU. Look, we're still going to be RBU, but times are changing, and I think we're slowly getting there, guys.
Right.
And you look at what Mac Brown's doing for North Carolina. It's the same situation. We're in the same boat here for this little brief moment here. Carolina is making changes, and they're taking what's typically known as a basketball school, and they're changing the culture, and they're making I'd say an elite mainstay football program. So long, at least in my opinion, so long as Mac's there, they're going to be relevant by all means.
See, what sucked was, we're always going to be a basketball school. I mean, when you got a guy
Georgia's the same way with a football school, man. But, yeah.
Even the football team wears the basketball guy's shoes. So it's always going to be a basketball school, regardless. But in that mid-'90s and in that early 2000s that Rob speaks of, when Coach Mack was the head coach for the Carolina Tar Heels football program, I'm telling you, the trajectory was there then. And we got all the way to a point where we were really about to compete for a national championship. But what happened was there were players that were doing things they shouldn't have done. As Tar Heels, we don't even talk about those things anymore. But Coach Mack had to leave. And when Coach Mack left, the program started to suffer because of the things that had been done under Mack Brown's watch. Well, Mack Brown goes on and coaches at Texas. He gets Vince Young. I don't know if you know about him, but they will go ahead and win a championship and all kinds of things. So it was one of those things where you have a girlfriend and she breaks up with you at prom, and then she goes off and goes to another school, and then she goes off with another guy, and then she goes with him to prom, and they get married and have kids and have a beautiful family, and then you're just sitting there like, damn, but then that family goes stale, and she cheats on him, and they break up, and now his heart's broken, and he has to come, and your girlfriend has to come back, and now we got our girlfriend Mack Brown back, and now we're going back to glory, damn it.
I love it, man. I love the enthusiasm, man. Like it's so interesting because, and one of the things that I grew up, like I said, I was born and raised in North Carolina. I understand what I used to see every Saturday. Like how many people can you count that actually watched ACC football?
Dude, everybody around here was a Florida State fan.
Yeah, Clemson fans everywhere.
Yep, Clemson. It went from Florida State. Florida State was the 90s.
Yes.
Then it went from Florida State to Clemson. Like Carolina I'm telling you, man, like that's why this is unprecedented waters that we're in right now.
Now you're gonna hate me for this, but when Cutcliffe was there, right? I mean, Cutcliffe at Duke's still there. I think Cutcliffe's a good coach. I really do. There was a time when I think Duke was really, really good for a couple years in football, and it was weird because, look, in North Carolina for the most part, growing up, people just kind of forgot Saturdays until about November, and when there's a thing called college basketball season open back up, and then you were glued to the TV every day if you really thought about it. But and that's one of my things when it comes to recruiting, and this is why I love what Mack's doing, because growing up, Florida State or more recently Clemson could come in here and pull any damn kid they wanted to out of North Carolina. And obviously, you have battles with Georgia too. Georgia did that as well, but Clemson was notorious for coming in and pulling the best of the best, and there was no competition whatsoever. You could look at the best kids in North Carolina and say they're Clemson. That's it. That's it. You just knew, locked it in, put your house on it. You knew they were going to Clemson. Mack Brown's not letting that happen anymore. And so you're seeing elite talent programs like Bama coming in North Carolina potentially. Definitely Clemson, Georgia. And they're making it hard for them to pull them guys out. You look at – I'll tell you a program that has the tradition of keeping guys in state, Louisiana State, LSU. Louisiana, it has a ton of talent.
Because if you're from Louisiana, you're from New Orleans or some shit like that, you want to play for LSU. Why? Because LSU understands the culture of the state. They understand your culture. They understand you. Imagine somebody from New Orleans coming to Carolina. It's a mind fuck. It's totally different. Ain't no Mardi Gras. Ain't nobody singing. Ain't no beads. Ain't nobody showing their breasts for beads. None of that shit.
I mean, you might hear Petey Pablo pop in from time to time.
Huh?
I mean, you might have Petey Pablo pop in from time to time.
You might have Petey Pablo, but that said you ain't going to have Lil Wayne and the Hot Boys.
Hey, you do got J. Cole, though.
You got J. Cole. And you got the baby, as long as he's not going on rants that's getting everybody embarrassed.
Fair enough. But that's to me, this is the thing, though. You look at, like I said, LSU traditionally has kept the best players in the state, which turns out to be most of the nation. Like Louisiana, Georgia. When you look at this, Louisiana, Georgia, Florida, California, Texas. Those five right there, you could. And they have the most volume, and they have the best talent. Now you look at, Georgia per capita has the most talent, in my opinion, the highest quality talent. But North Carolina's on the rise, man. And look, this is a Georgia Bulldog podcast all day.
For sure.
However, if look, I am a North Carolina citizen. I am a born and raised North Carolinian. If I have a chance to sit here and kind of boast my shoulders about my state and what they put on the table in regards to college football, I have to do it. I have to do it.
And not to mention that there have been North Carolinians that we've mentioned in this podcast that have strengthened the Bulldogs or strengthened the Dogs. You feel me? Like we spoke on guys y'all have now, guys y'all have had in the past. Like, so you all have been beneficiaries of the talent that is North Carolina. But I think the easiest way to maybe translate Carolina football and as it parallels to Carolina basketball, is imagine as Dogs fans, imagine if, as heralded as your football program is, imagine if you all's basketball program started to gain momentum to be on that same level, because that's what we're talking about. Like Georgia basketball is nowhere near the level of Georgia football. Is that fair to say that?
Right now, yeah, absolutely. You know,
So
you got Tom Crean in there, but like, dude, Georgia fans are hating life right now for basketball. I don't keep up with too much of Georgia outside of football too much,
right.
but I'm telling you right now, when it comes to basketball, there's a lot of pissed off Georgia fans.
That's my
That's all I'm
point.
going to say there.
That's my point. So imagine if you had a coach in that understood Georgia culture and was recruiting in state and getting y'all back to where y'all were actually honestly, seriously thinking about, wow, we can compete for a national championship. That is what Carolina football fans are feeling right now.
You know, and obviously, kind of to tie everything in here, going around round trip and bringing it back home. You know, look, there is a good chance that North Carolina can handle Florida State and handle Miami and take care of business every other game, win games that you're supposed to win, right?
Right.
Come home and come to Charlotte and play Clemson and beat Clemson. I'm not saying that Clemson's, you know, looking at it, I think Clemson has a good shot to make it back to the playoffs. Look, I'm one of those people that until you beat them, I'm going to put them back in there.
For sure.
However,
and we are too. Coach Mack Brown is too. That's the thing. Like, Coach Mack Brown isn't saying, hey, we're ready to win a national championship. No way. Coach Mack Brown is saying the same things that I'm saying. We got to beat the Woffords. We got to beat the Georgia States, right? And then we got to beat the Florida States and the Miamis, right? To even get a chance to see Clemson, to optimistically beat them. Like, we got so much work to do before we can even think about playing or beating the Clemson. But as a fan, I know that the trajectory of this team is one that is ready to dethrone a juggernaut like Clemson for shit show.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this year is the best. I don't want to sound bad about this because this is a typical Georgia thing. This is our year. But when I look at North Carolina, I think this might seriously be the year for y'all. Like, this is the year to make it happen. Now, I'm not going to say y'all are going to make it to the playoffs and win the whole damn thing.
No,
however, you know, I look at it taking baby steps. I'm not going to jump if I can't swim. I'm not jumping into the 8 foot deep. I'm taking the steps down into the 3 feet and getting myself comfortable and getting into a spot where I can sit there and sustain where I need to be and then work my way down. So, so I look at it this right here. I think, you know, taking the history, recent history with what North Carolina did, right, playing them super close. In my opinion, y'all should have beat them. Y'all should have beat them.
Should have, bro.
It definitely exposed that weakness. But then you look at what happened after that. They just kind of just shut the door on any kind of chance, and they just blew everybody out. But you exposed the chink in the armor, like you said.
Right.
So you sit there, you do that right here. You have Sam Howell, which I think he's going after this year. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
You know, but you know, you have the quarterback, and everybody knows. You know this as well. Quarterback makes or breaks the season. Georgia fans, we understand what it means to not have certainty at the quarterback position. You saw last year alone the uncertainty moving around, and then guess what happens? JT Daniels comes in, all is calm. As long as he's healthy, all is calm.
Right.
That's the same situation with North Carolina right now. Sam Howell is arguably the best quarterback in the country. I think you look at, in my opinion, the three here. You have Sam Howell at one. You have Spencer Rattler and JT Daniels. Those are the big three that you know, I'm looking at as having huge breakout Heisman type years.
Right.
And really, I think it's possible. And I think Mac's going to have, you know, y'all going to be passing the ball left and right, but y'all still utilize the run game, which is key.
Facts.
But you know, looking at it right here, like I'm rooting for the Tar Heels to dethrone Clemson. However, my Georgia, look, we're playing them week 1 anyway.
That's what I'm about to say. I'm rooting for Georgia, man. Y'all, listen, I hope y'all beat them week 1 because then they already starting off 0-1. So that's already helping. Like,
that's the case. But like I said, look, when y'all played them close and almost beat them, they turned into a team that like nobody in the country wanted to see.
That was under Trevor Lawrence, though.
Well, true. But look, DJ is going to be a dude too, man.
He is, but he ain't gonna be sunshine though.
No, that's a different breed, though, man. You know, hey, he was a Georgia boy, though. Hey, Georgia boy, I tell you. See, but you also look at this is the thing, man. Georgia football, like Georgia high school football. This is why high school football in your state should mean something to you.
Right.
In that class alone, you had Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, both from Georgia.
Right.
And you see what they turned out to be.
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
Georgia understands.
That's why if Georgia didn't recruit in state, that would be insane. That would be the dumbest shit. And see,
absolutely.
When you say other guys like get away and stuff like that, like y'all can't keep all of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, because in all honesty, some guys need to leave because if they stay, they're going to be tempted around the environments they're already in. They won't be able to blossom. They're at home on the weekends, more susceptible to danger and ridiculous shit and shit. Sometimes
Being
it's
around
best for the kid to go. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, that's another thing with coaching. Your coaching has to be like, listen, you're going to stay here and we're going to make sure you stay here. If we have to handcuff you to the damn dorm room table, you're going to stay in your dorm this weekend. Like, that's got to be coaching too.
Yep. Now, you know, look at, like I said, you have that potential, right, to hang around the negative, right, when you're staying at home. You know, sometimes leaving home, you get a fresh start, really.
Yeah, right.
You know, but at the same time, like, you know, it is nice to you stay home and play for that team. Now, before we wrap this up, I have a couple questions. You know, what right now, if you had to choose today, as the current scheme of things with no injuries, things like that, taken into play, what's your 14th playoff?
I will go Oklahoma.
Okay.
Ohio State. Very optimistically, Tar Heels beat Clemson, and we represent. And because I'm on this podcast, I will say the Dogs. But if I wasn't talking to you, I would say Alabama, just on the strength of it's fucking Alabama. It's Nick Saban. Yep. Jesus Christ. Who would bet their money? Last time I bet money against Alabama, it was for you, Penny Nickens. Okay?
Yeah. No, you know, I look at it that way, man. Like, I look at it as, you know, obviously Georgia's had them dead to rights, and we never finished. You know, you look at, like I said, national title game, never let that down. Then literally the year after, the SEC title game, had them dead to rights. We led the entire game. I don't know if you paid attention to this. We led the entire game until the last minute, and they beat us. It took the national title game was overtime. They took the lead in the last minute or a couple minutes to beat us in the SEC championship game the following year. We've been dead. We've had them dead to rights, and we haven't done it. That's only us to blame for that.
Right.
I'm not going to be this cliche, this is our year type bullshit. I don't believe in it. But if I had to, this is the year. Like, there's no excuses. You look at what we have. We have so much coming back, for one. So coming back, not returning. Like, that's a big deal. But who we're bringing back is also a big deal too. Right. We have it all. You know, you look at what you're bringing back. Our schedule isn't as strong as it typically is. So really, outside of Clemson, we need to take care of business like we should and not lose to teams that we shouldn't lose to. And we'll be in the SEC title game. You know, and then, like I said.
And you think y'all can beat Alabama?
Like I said, it's hard to go against Alabama. Just trying to be as unbiased as possible, taking off the Georgia hat right now. I think this might actually be the year. And I'm not saying anything discrediting Bama because that'd be the stupidest fucking thing I could say. But the thing about it is, every year they've had, you know, plans in place and reloaded, right? That's what they do. But where they're having to reload at is my question. Because last year, Mac Jones was a fucking assassin. You also had, you know, Waddle and Devontae Smith right there. So you had, you know, Mac Jones, Devontae, and Jalen Waddle, all three of them, Heisman candidates, Heisman finalists. And now you have to sit there and replace that. That's a lot to do. But when it comes to Alabama, it's Alabama. They're going to be fine. You know, right. Bryce Young, you hear about Bryce Young and the NIL money? Almost $1 million already hasn't.
Oh yeah, Alabama. Yeah, ain't even played up. Ain't threw a fucking pass.
So you know, you look at that right there. But the biggest question mark for me, and I think they're going to be fine. It's just a matter of how it goes. Their offensive line. What they had last year, it was you know, there was so much seniority there, and a lot of those guys got drafted. The talent is not the question; it's the experience and how they gel up. I trust Saban and everybody on his coaching staff to be fine and have them ready. But my biggest question outside of players is a coaching staff. Bill O'Brien, how is he going to handle what Sark left him? Because let's be honest, last year, Sark was perfect offensive coordinator. And Saban's had some damn good ones with Kiffin there, turn that offense around. Then you look at Sark last year. I loved what he brought on that offense. Now It's Bill Bryan's time to see what he can do with this. And I think that's the ultimate question mark. I believe your offensive line having to replace that much there. And what can Bill O'Brien do? Can he get it done as an offensive coordinator? That's going to be the big questions for me. But I definitely look at it being Georgia, Alabama, and SEC title game. Look, if we take care of Clemson, you know, we can still lose close in the SEC title game and still make it as probably a 3 or 4 in the playoffs. So I think if we handle business, we're going to be in the playoffs. The thing about it is, in my opinion, I would much rather win the SEC title game right now than lose. I'd rather lose to Clemson and win an SEC title game
Right.
than to beat Clemson. Even though I love beating Clemson. Look,
Right.
2014 we beat Clemson. I loved it, but I would much rather win the SEC title. I think. Look, SEC it just means more. That's how I'm feeling. I feel that type of way.
Yeah, you want to win your conference. But seeing like that's what I was saying at the beginning of this, man. The symmetry between Dogs fans and Carolina fans are so right there side by side, man. Like I would be silly to bet against Clemson. They're the juggernaut of our conference, have been for the past decade, right? But again, they're the most vulnerable they've been in years right now. The same way you talking, like they do the same thing. They reload. They go from Deshaun Watson to freaking sunshine. Like they reload, but where they're reloading is the question. Like they got to reload at quarterback. They got to reload at running back. They got to reload at linebacker.
Offensive line too.
Offensive line. They got to do a lot of reloading, dog. So from that perspective, they're doing a lot of reloading while we're just building. And we've been building for the past two seasons. And this third season, I just really feel like, even if we don't get to a national championship, because I think that's a huge bar to get to. From 2-9 3 years ago to a national championship this year, I don't see that being realistic. But I do think that we have the team that can handle the business that we need to handle in front of us, and then get to Clemson in an ACC championship. And when you're there, it's may the best team win, Jack. May the best coach win. May whoever plays the best on that day. But you give me a one game off against Clemson to go to the playoffs, and I like our chances, Jack.
Last question before I let you go. September 4th, are you going to be there? And if so, well, let's just say this: Are you going to be in Charlotte that game?
I am not going to be there. I am the PA announcer for my alma mater, Winston-Salem State University, and we've got a game September the 4th.
Gotcha.
So I'll be having to work, but trust and believe the game will be on in the press box, and we will be making sure that we're keeping up with that.
Now, with that being said, I wanted to see if you were going over there. I just wanted to see if you were or not. However, the last question is, give me your score prediction for the game, and unbiased as possible.
Georgia Clemson?
Yes.
Saying that I don't know jack shit about Georgia, I'm going off of solely the things that you told me. I like a 6'8" wide receiver. I like a 6'5" wide receiver. I like somebody that's running a 10-flat 100. I like those things offensively. Again, Clemson is going to Clemson. You're coming here, so they're going to have home field advantage like a motherfucker. It's the first game. God willing, fans are going to be in attendance, so it's going to be the first football game with fans for them in a while. That emotion alone, I'm going to give them 10 points off the rip. But again, I think Clemson is vulnerable based off what you're saying about where you all are with everybody coming back. I'm going to give y'all a 31-21 dub over Clemson.
I look at it as I think it's going to be, first off, this game right here, just from the analysis that I'm looking at here, is going to be one in the trenches. That's where it starts, and that's where it's going to determine the winner. Because let's be honest, Brian Brzee, Miles Murphy, not to be mistaken with your Miles Murphy, but KJ Henry and company on that defensive line is the best in the country. And Georgia's got a damn good defensive line too, and we got a deep defensive line at that. But the question is, who's going to protect their quarterback the best? Right. And that's where ultimately it lies. Looking at what Georgia can do here, we're going to get after the quarterback. And, I understand DJ played a couple games with Trevor's absence last year when he had COVID.
Right.
And he played Notre Dame and played him close, lost in overtime. I'm just going to say this right here. Look, we ain't Notre Dame. Like right. I know you got 2 starts, and that's cool, but this team ain't your Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I'm not discrediting Notre Dame, but look, it's a whole different level, especially on defense. Ask Eli Book.
And see, I don't think that Clemson is as hungry as Georgia is.
I think they would be. They lost 2014. They lost. They beat us in 2013. We beat them in 2014.
Nobody on that roster is there from 2014. First off,
you're right. You're right.
And last year's team, like the guys who would have gave a shit, they're gone. The Etiennes and the Trevors, like those guys. If you were seeing those guys September 4th, y'all might be getting y'all's ass handed to y'all. Well, it's going to be a close one in overtime. But this team, they don't have in my opinion, they don't have a chip on their shoulder. This Georgia team has a chip on their shoulder.
Look, our motto is unfinished business.
Right.
That's it. That was the motto for Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt. Hey guys, Devontae Wyatt, keep that name out because this dude's gonna be a fucking animal this year. He's already defensive line. He's right alongside Jordan Davis. Look, he had a good season last year. I'm telling you, dude is gonna be a baller. Way better than what he was last year. Just to feel it. But you had both of those guys come back. Zeus comes back. James Cook comes back. All these guys with that same motto, unfinished business. To me, that tells me it means something to them. Now,
and they know it's how you start, and they're gonna play. I'm telling you, like
set the tone,
bro. Like I'm telling you, I really do think Georgia will get Clemson week 1.
I'm looking at a closer score though. I think with Justin Ross and Ladson and all those guys in the receiving corps, it's going to be closer because with our inexperience at secondary, this is what's going to cause us to be closer. I'd say 38-35. I think it's going to be close. And look, and Jackpot is going to be our savior. He did it. He did it against Cincinnati, a 53-yarder to basically win us the game.
Right.
I think he'll come through in the clutch and win us by a field goal. It's going to be a damn good game nonetheless, though.
It damn sure is. I'm gonna make sure that
damn sure better be.
I'm gonna make sure I chop it. I'll make sure I'm locked into your Twitter feed during the game and afterwards, win or lose.
I'll try to keep up with it, man. Look, when I get into these games, I get into them. So I gotta be careful, man. I don't want my neighbors thinking I'm like, domestic violence, but I be cussing at the TV, man.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Dude, I'm telling you, you would think I was at the game the way I'm screaming at my television, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. So, I mean, there's just so much of that. Look, everybody understands the importance. You don't even have to be a fan. Look, B-Dot, he's a Tar Heel fan, and he understands how much this means to not only just Clemson and Georgia, but college football.
Football, period, dog.
This is probably the best game in recent memory to start the season off.
Absolutely.
So, hey, man, look, I've had a blast sitting here chit-chatting. I love it.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. You hit me up and asked me would I be willing to come on and talk some Tar Heel talk, man. As the unofficial mascot of Tar Heel basketball and Tar Heel athletics, it's my duty to do so, man. So I appreciate you for having B-Dot on, man, and anytime.
Hey, absolutely. Look, guys, I know this was a lengthy conversation, but look, I hope that this opened your eyes and really gets them understanding across that, look, you can look at the ACC and you see Clemson, but you have to respect what's underneath of them because they're closer than you think. Miami plays Bama week 1. I want to see what that's about. I hope De'Aaron King can come back and play that game healthy.
Facts.
But look, as I'm telling you, North Carolina is going to give them a problem if they make it to Charlotte. This is obviously being from North Carolina. I understand on a little bit more personal level than most Dog fans. So look, I wanted to do everybody a service and say, look, it's not just Clemson right now. North Carolina's right there at their heels, no pun intended, and see what happens. And they may be able to sit there and take down the king of the ACC this year. Never know, but it could be done.
Know. It can happen. Hey, y'all might be able to take down the king of the SEC. You never know.
Shit, the king of college football. What you mean?
For shit show. Ain't that the truth?
But no, hey man, look.
For having me, man.
Absolutely. Hey, before you go, let everybody know where they can find you, man. Look, if you've never heard of Wild 'N Out, do yourself a favor and watch that damn show. I don't know if you've been on recently, but look, you've been on that show several times. I loved watching you on. Look, I ain't gonna lie. My favorite thing before I get you off here, when plead the fifth. That was my favorite line.
With Bow Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. For shit show. Yeah. That was classic. That was my very first episode. The very first game I ever played on Wild 'N Out ever.
Way to fucking start the show, man. I love that.
That's how I started my Wild 'N Out career, dude, with that shit.
You got to start out with a bang. That's what you did. I love it.
You got to, bro. You got to.
It.
No, but that's Wild 'N Out. Nick Cannon's Wild 'N Out. I definitely did 6 seasons on that. I was on last season. I won't be on this season. They got a new season starting August the 10th. I won't be on this new season, but that was all still the homies. 102 Jams. Oh, this way. 102 Jams. That's where I work at. 3 Live Crew morning show. I'm the unofficial mascot of Tar Heel basketball. I'm the PA announcer for the Carolina Cobras. I'm the in-arena host for the Greensboro Swarm, which is a G League affiliate for the Charlotte Hornets. I'm the PA announcer for WSSU football and basketball. I'm a father. I'm a content creator. I have a segment on my social media. I didn't know, maybe you didn't either, where we talk about Black facts. I do Mappa videos, Make America Fat Again, where we go to restaurants, find secret hacks.
Sausage biscuit with the bowberry, man.
Hey,
God,
bro,
that shit
listen,
was good.
hey, that's what I do, bro. That's what I do. So I got a bunch
I'm
of
telling you,
different
that was good.
platforms, man. Connect the dots with my family. I'm just out here, man. B.TV, BDAHT TV. You can find me there on all platforms, man, and be entertained.
Yep. Hey, look, I'll even help you out. If you don't know him, like I said, look, he gets around, especially around the triad for where I am. Has done a lot to me, means a lot to me because, look, I've sat here as my alma mater at UNCG. You've hyped up games there, made those
Right.
games fun as shit to watch.
Appreciate
So it means a lot for me to have you on.
That's what's
And
up.
I'm looking forward to chit-chatting and get you back on. Look, might have to bring you on if North Carolina's sitting there and being a true problem. We're going to have to bring people on and say, hey, look, come back to this show right here. We tried to tell you.
Absolutely, bro. Like midway through the season, matter of fact, after the Miami game, we can do a preview or a follow-up after Miami and Carolina and see where we at.
I might have to make it. I typically during the season, I'm going to be doing two. I'm going to do a Georgia review, Georgia preview. Look, there may be a time where I might just have to sit here and bring you on for a review and say, look, this is what happened. We told you about this because this is what's going to happen. It's going to be a Charlotte thing. Make it happen.
Those episodes to be the Dog and Heel show.
Hey, we'll make it work. We'll make it happen.
Let's do it, dog. I'm with it. All
right, hey, look, man. Like I said, it's a pleasure having you on, and I hope you have the great rest of your day, man.
Hey, same to you, man. You be good, Rob.
Will do.
Peace, brother.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, that's all we got for today's show. Definitely had a great time with B-Dot here, and obviously a lot to go on, guys. It's getting close to the season. September 4th is coming so close. I can taste it. Can't wait to taste Tiger Blood in Charlotte. It's going to be so beautiful. It's going to be so beautiful. But on that note, though, guys, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and go Dogs.